Hello, welcome, and happy Friday. And if you are watching us on any other day of the week, happy day of the week that you are on. I am Joe Peters, the founder and host of MOMFIT with Joe Peters. Welcome to our host network, the Spanglish World Network, and the H.E.R Network on single TV channels 250 and 251. Please remember to download the Single TV app in the respective app stores on iOS and Android devices. While you are downloading, make sure that you leave us a comment. The app is free and your feedback is super important for us to keep improving. Also know that Single TV is available in Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV, Roku, and Roku Stick in all the smart TVs since 2016. And if you are been watching me on the TV or for a while and you don't follow me yet, please go down to Instagram or Facebook and find me in Joe Unicorn Coach. I am here to support you. The mission and the goal of MOMFIT is to help you to win the marathon of life without burnout. Burnout is about helping you to create your unicorn life. So if you have a question, a challenge, a problem, and you don't know how to approach it, make sure that you send me a comment. Make sure that you send me a message. And then if I cannot help you to lead it on, I will find a guest like Daarina that will come to the show and we will talk together as your virtual villa. Today, I am very excited to have this mom to mom conversation with Daarina. This is a topic that I think that a lot of us suffer in silence because we are ashamed because of the society stigmas about what mental health is. And we are going to be um, talking about what it is actually being a mom while we are still dealing with our own mental health and mental health challenges. Darina, thank you for being here. Welcome. I would love to start with your phrase. I always ask my guests to give me a phrase that they love, and your phrase was there is always a silver lining in every dark cloud.
That
What
is
that
correct.
phrase means to you and why that is the phrase that you choose to discuss.
I always say there's a silver lining in every dark cloud because I mean, when you're facing with challenges and trials and tribulations, you have to find that uh, special place where you know uh, there's a silver lining. And I always say there's a silver lining in every dark cloud. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. That's why I always that's my go-to mantra when I go through my trials and tribulations.
Good. Now, Darina, why you don't talk to us a little bit about who you are and your story and why you are so passionate about talking about motherhood and mental health?
Well, my name is Daarina. I am a mother. I have bipolar disorder. I've had bipolar disorder for about over 20 years now. And I'm passionate about it because I've been dealing like for like the first 4 years I've had bipolar disorder. I've um was in and out of the psychiatric wards, and I had to go and get treated. And after that, the 17 years afterwards, I was stable. And in 2021, after my daughter was like 5 years old, I had to go back into the psychiatric ward to get treated because I had a relapse, if you will, and I'm now healthy and I'm living my best life.
And how old, you have only one daughter?
I have one daughter and my son is 24.
Okay. So she is being with you for the entire process.
Yes, my daughter is now 8. She at the time when I had my when I had to go back to the psychiatric ward, she was 5 years old.
Okay.
So
So I want you to tell us a little bit about how is being that experience of being a mom while also struggling with your own mental health.
it's hard at times. It can be very much a bit of a challenge being a mom and having to do the day to day things of getting my daughter ready for school and my own mental health. It's a challenge trying to balance the two. Of having bipolar disorder, I have to remember to take my medications on a daily basis at the same time every night before I go to sleep. Otherwise, it's just going to throw me off for the next day, and I have to do that every single night. And I have to tell my husband, okay, I took my pills at 9 o'clock, took my pills at 9:05, took my pills at this time, so he knows that I'm taking my pills on a regular basis.
And what was some of the struggles when you had your daughter that you have that relapse, because we know that motherhood can impact a lot harder our mental health. So how was the process of becoming a mom, what you were dealing with your um mental health, and how do you handle all that help that you need when you were having a little one at home?
Before she started school, it was a struggle. It was a struggle, having to go through the process of being with her and dealing with my mental health on a day to day basis. It was hard. I mean, it was times. It was a period that my husband wasn't at home because we had just moved into our townhouse, and we were he was far away from his job, so he's working two jobs at the time, and he had to go stay with his sister. So for those 2 years it was just hard that I would only see my husband on the weekends, and that played into my mental health as well, because I was home alone with my daughter, and I was struggling. I was struggling a lot.
And I think that that is a very important topic for all of us to talk, and is that um, motherhood is really challenging. But then when we don't have a support system, when we don't have, for example, you were not seeing your husband, you didn't have anybody else to help you, that affects that mental health. That affects even more that struggle. So now, when you were struggling, when you were having all these issues, when or how do you find out that you need to have help, that you need to get a special help to get you better?
So what I do is I call my mom because she's a part of my tribe, and I said, "Listen, mom, I need help." And we talk. We call the psychiatrist and let them know that I need to get my medications calibrated, and I go and get the help that I need. So it's just like that. I call my mom. I'll call whoever it is that's in my circle and let them know. So listen, I'm struggling. I need somebody to help me.
Now tell me a little bit, because you are being living with this diagnosis for 20 years, you said, right?
Over 20 years, yeah.
So I think that now is normalized for you to ask for help. But why you don't share with me a little bit about how was it at the beginning of the journey, when you were just starting to get diagnosed? It was scary to share that you were diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Were you confused? Were you angry? What was that those initial years where you were just trying to figure out how and why were you feeling, how were you feeling, and then when you get the diagnosis.
Well, at first I thought it was just a common. I treated the disorder like it was a common cold. Like I would take the pills, and once I felt better, I thought it was okay. I'm better, and I didn't have to take it anymore. And that's where I kept falling short. And I'm like, what's going on with me? And when I found out that I had to take these pills on a permanent basis, it did at first make me upset. And I said to myself, why me? And I kept questioning, why did I have to take these medications? Why am I having bipolar disorder? Why am I having these mood swings? So I was just questioning the word why. Why me? Why now? And that was just my initial reaction of having bipolar disorder. And then once I came to grips with it, I, telling people that I had it, I was scared to tell them at first. And then once I started accepting my truth, eh, I said, you know what? I have to live with this. I can control it. I can be in control of my destiny. So that's why I decide. I tell people, I said, listen, I have bipolar disorder. It doesn't have me. I'm in the driver's seat of it, and I'm the one that's taking my medications on a daily basis, and I'm the one that's living my best life.
um and I think that is important that we normalize that all of those feelings are normal feelings, because I think that is a diagnosis that change your life. And then you, like you were
Yeah.
saying, you're saying I have to be medicated every day at the same time. So the feelings of why me, why this is happening to me, and then also the fear of sharing with people around us, because the reality is there is a lot of stigma in society about mental health, because every time that we see in the movies mental health, then we see just crazy people that are doing crazy things. So there is a big fear about saying, hey, I am struggling with mental health, or I am diagnosed with depression, or um, bipolar, or whatever it is that we are having now. After so many years living with this diagnosis, why you don't share a little bit about, like, for the people that are curious, that are maybe not completely sure if they have depression or they have bipolar. Of course they need to go to their doctor, but what is bipolar, and when you are talking about these moon swings, how that show up in your life?
Bipolar disorder is when you do have mood swings, and some days like your moods could be higher than what they're supposed to be. You could be in the lowest of low depression, or you could be so overzealous you think that you're so happier than what you're supposed to be. That's what boils down to what having bipolar disorder is. And those that who are just starting out, or who are having depressions or anxiety, or any type of mood swings, when 1 minute they're happy, 1 minute they're sad, those type of things, go and see a psychiatrist, and get checked out. There's nothing wrong with opening your mouth and saying, hey, I don't know what's going on with my feelings, but I think I need to go see somebody. I want to get help for this, because I don't think this is normal for me.
And I love that you are, I think that's something that is very important in what you are saying, is trusting that this is not normal, and then um be okay with the idea of not fighting along with the situation, and knowing that it's okay to say I need help, that it's okay to say I want to explore situations. So now let's gonna talk a little bit about how you handle it with your little girl, because she was, you say, 2 years old. So how you handle this with her? How do you explain, or do you explain to her, mommy has this, and how this diagnose has impact your way to be a mom, and then where do you struggle, and where do you see the silver lining on it?
Well, I explained to my daughter when she was old enough to talk. I think it was about when I came home from the hospital, and I think we were. I think it was about 3 months after I came home. We had the conversation of me having bipolar disorder. I think her father explained it to her as well, that mommy's not feeling well, mommy got to take her pills and stuff like that. So she understands that mommy has to take pills so that she could be well, uh, and have to take it on a daily basis. So she has I think she has a better understanding than most 8 year olds do now. And I think that's the silver lining in that, is that knowing that my daughter still understands that she still loves her mom, and she understands that mommy has to take this medication in order to feel better.
And I think that that is also important, because sometimes we think that we want to keep it from from them, because we are afraid that they cannot handle it, because we are afraid that they cannot understand. But I think that what you are saying is very encouraging, into just, of course, we need to use language that is appropriate for their age, that is, mommy needs to take this to feel better, and just normalize that it's okay to ask for help, and then it's okay to move forward. Um when one of the things, because people that are being in my show know this, I struggle with depression since I was 14 years old, and I spent over 20 years trying to do it by myself. So I was just trying to muscle through, push through the depression and the lows. And it was not until I got my baby that that depression got really bad, with postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety. And then I finally start asking for help. And I think one of the interesting things for us to discuss here is that something happened when we have kids, and that is that then we get a little more sensitive into how important is that we are okay. Because then when it's only us, yeah, I can handle the bad days, I can handle not wanting to get out of the bed, I can handle not wanting to leave sometimes. But then when we have a little person depending on us, um then I think that bring a lot more awareness and weight into our responsibility into feeling better. And
Right.
I think also, and I don't know what is being your experience, but it's also about us learning about ourselves and learning what things trigger that mental health. Because one of the difficult things about all the mental health, bipolar, depression, is that we don't have a machine to check the brain like we have a machine to check everything else. Like if you have a problem in your heart, they put a machine and they know exactly what part of the heart is having an issue. They know exactly what they can do. With the brain, is not like that. So actually is all about trying to interpret and understand the symptoms and the moods and the changes, and then based on that do a diagnose. So I also think, and I want to hear your opinion, but for me, it's been also very helpful to go inwards and start learning myself. And for example, in my depression, I learned that refined sugar really triggers my depression episodes. So yes, I am taking medication, and I'm still also changing other things in my environment, in my life, that help me to feel better. Because again, it's not about only taking the medication, it's about us taking care of ourselves and finding what works for us and what doesn't.
That's true. That's so true. I gotta start changing the way I eat myself, because if certain things will um not I'm not gonna say trigger, but it'll weigh me down. So it's the type of foods that you eat that will play a big role in how your mental health is going to make you feel. So I definitely agree with that.
Okay. Um, Now, what can you tell all those moms that are wondering or struggling with mental health?
It's okay. I always say this in my podcast because I have a podcast called Nina, I Am Not My Illness. And in my podcast, I always say it's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to not get the help, if that makes sense to you. Meaning that it's okay to say I'm not okay, but it's not okay to not get the help that you need when you know you need it. So go out there, ask for the help. Say, listen, I'm struggling, especially new moms who have postpartum depression. I would really encourage them the most to go out there to get the help that they need. Because I, with my daughter, I had postpartum depression. I was crying all the time, and I didn't know why I was crying. I kept saying, "Oh my God, why am I bawling?" Everything just made me cry. And on top of that, I was taking my medication, and I felt like it didn't work. And I told my doctor, I said, "Why am I crying so much?" He said, "You going through postpartum depression? Did you just have a baby?" I said, "Yes." And I didn't know that that's what that was. So I would encourage mothers that are out there, just go and speak to someone, speak to a therapist, speak to a psychiatrist. There are resources out there for you to go and get the help that you need.
And I love that you say in your podcast, it's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to not ask for the help. And I think that that is the biggest fear that a lot of us have into who I ask for help. And I going back into what you were talking before, that is why it's so important to have a tribe and a circle. You say I call my mom. So it's I think that we all as women need it, and especially for any reason we are struggling with mental health, it's important to have those. I actually remember when my baby was born, I had one of my tribe members, my soul sister Nicole, and I will call her and cry and say why this is so difficult. I never thought that this was going to be so difficult. And then she was one of the ones that says, honey, it should not be that difficult. So if it's feeling that difficult, then why you don't talk with your doctor? Why we don't just make an appointment? So I think that is also important to understand that you cannot do this alone. You cannot win this marathon alone. In that marathon can be called um, motherhood, can be called mental health. We need support. And then I will ask you this because there are people that says, but I don't have support, but I don't live close to my family, but I don't have friends. What could you say to them if they are saying, yes, I hear what you, Darina, and Joanna are saying, that we need help and support in a tribe, but I don't have a tribe and support.
I would say try to create one. Try to talk to your neighbors, or um talk to this it's always hotlines that you can call. You could call anybody and create a tribe for yourself. I mean, you could call what is it called? I think it's called NAMI, NAMI.org, for mental health. So you could call that hotline. You can call anybody. Just call up your family members, and you'll be able to create a tribe with them.
So now, what do you think that is the biggest lesson that this diagnosis of bipolar have been teach you in the last 20 years?
It's taught me a lot about myself and what I can and cannot change about the diagnosis. I just learned to just accept it for what it is, what comes with the territory, and just roll with the punches. I mean, I don't. Uh, now, no 2 days are the same. One day could be a good day, another day could be not so good day for me, and I just take it for what it is.
So it's been giving you a little bit of flexibility into not being upset when you have challenging days.
Exactly.
Okay. Um, Now that your daughter is growing, um, is she getting, so two questions that I have for you. The first one is, how likely is that these mental health situations be genetically, and that it can be get your daughter can get them, so hereditary? And then the other one is, as she start growing, is she getting a little more curious into understanding, in some cases, why you are different than other moms, or in what ways your disease, is she getting more and more interest on that, and how you're handling that?
She's not really getting that curious about it yet. I think she understands it a little bit. As far the first question, what was the first question?
The first question is, if in your research and everything that you have been doing for mental health, is this something genetic that can be
Yeah, it
passed
is.
from generation to generation?
It has. I inherited from both my mother and my father's side of the family because both sides have um, traits of people who have a mental health disorder, especially my father's side. My mother's side is a little bit, but my father's side is more strongly. So it can be passed on. I mean, so and it also can skip a generation as well.
So if you know that, how what are some of the things that you are looking and paying attention in your daughter to see if you can support her on this journey of, she may or may not have some kind of mental health situation?
I'm just looking at her attitude and how she looks at certain things and how I'm just looking at her overall disposition. So I'm just looking to be as supportive as I possibly can for her as her mom.
Okay, Irina, thank you so much for being here with us and sharing with us your journey on mental health. And for everybody else, um, mental health doesn't have a gender or a type or a look.
Mm.
And then one of the things that I always say, because it happened to me, like happened to Robbie Williams and all of these people that end their life too soon with mental health, is sometimes the more bubbly, happy, exciting people are the people that are struggling the most with mental health. So make sure that you reach to each other, make sure that you look for each other. And I love your phrase of normalizing that it is okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to ask for help. And it's about us to start. And one of the invitations that I will have everybody that is listening to us is normalizing talking about it. If you had postpartum depression, if you had bipolar, if you struggle with depression, with anxiety, whatever mental health, because the reality is we are not ashamed of saying, oh, I have a heart condition. We are not ashamed to say, oh, I have high blood pressure or low blood pressure, or I have whatever it is. If it's, or we are not ashamed to say, oh, I need glasses. If it's a physical condition, we are not ashamed to share about it. We say it as it is. But when it's about mental conditions, then we start getting that ashamed. We start getting afraid to say, hey, I have a diagnosis of bipolar. I have a diagnosis of depression. So our invitation today is, let's gonna break that stigma together. And if you are facing mental health, just share with your friends, share with people that you know, share with those around you, in a way to say this. And I love what you said about it. This is not, the disease don't have me, I deal with it every day. So
Mhm.
it's about you to embrace that, and embrace that you are not alone, and embrace that there is so many other things that you can do to help you to feel better. I think that this is one that, especially for perfectionists like myself, is really, it was really really difficult for me to ask for help, because it was more about me, like, I need to be strong enough to feel better, I need to figure out how to make it. And the reality is, it doesn't have to be hard, it doesn't have to be a struggle, and it doesn't have to be a challenging time for you to live your life. And I think this is
Exactly.
one of the things that we forget, and is, you deserve to be happy. You deserve to enjoy your kids. You deserve to feel good about yourself. And then, if that means that you need support with therapy, that means that you need support with medication, then that's fine. I always say that life is too short for us to not live it at the fullest.
Exactly. Couldn't agree with you
Serena,
more.
um, what are being some of the most challenging times for you to handle, living with this diagnosis every day? And
What?
how, okay, that one.
No, what did you say?
What are being some of the most challenging times for you to deal with this diagnosis?
What have been the most challenging times? Um, it it all depends on what's going on with me as far as like my stressors. Like the most challenging times was when I was pregnant with my daughter, and I had to go without certain medications, and I had to get on prenatal pills. So that was the most challenging time for me when I was pregnant with my daughter.
Okay. And then, so if we are having people that want to hear from you, can you repeat your podcast again?
My podcast is called Nina. I am not my illness, which is on Spotify for podcasters, and it's on Spotify, and it's on Apple um it's on, I think it's on Apple Podcasts, and five other platforms, so you can find it there.
Okay, so thank you so much, Darina, for being here, for taking some time from your day, and for bringing awareness into the reality of mental health, and how we need to keep normalizing what mental health is, and normalizing that it is okay to not be okay. And that, something that I love about what you said, the diagnosed don't run our lives. We are still us, and we are still in charge of our lives. So thank you so much, Dorina, for being here. And for everybody that is watching us, please know that this show can also be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Check out www.spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. And know that next week we are going to be talking about intuitive eating and how we can improve our health with what we eat. That also is part of what we were talking with Darina into how much that impacts the life that we do. So if you are not following me, go to Instagram, Facebook at Joe Unicorn Coach, and follow me. Let me know what help do you need and how I can support you better. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and leave it.
Bye bye.